to hold up the entire webinar for them. So we are going to get started. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Monica, and I am an owner here at Transform RX. We just started the company this year, and we offer online nutrition coaching services, which is mostly what we're going to be talking about today. But we also offer fitness training in a group style and also personal training one-on-one. And we are excited. I co-own the business with my husband, Fernando. He is a gastroenterologist and has always had a passion for specifically working with people diagnosed with morbid obesity and just helping them transform their lives. He does a lot of non-invasive procedures. There's something called an intragastric balloon, and he places that in their stomach. It helps them keep them full and obviously eat less. And it's a 6-month procedure. There's no cutting or anything like that. And then coming off of that, our hope is to work with a lot of those patients as well to help them eventually keep the weight off that they lost and continue to lose weight. So he's working on that side of things, and I'm working on this side of things. And we're really hopeful that this is going to be something that really helps change people's lives. So let's see here. I'm going to get started. You should see a slide presentation here. And if you do have any questions throughout the seminar, I would hope that you just use the chat function as freely as you'd like. You will see a speak function. Don't use that, because then you would have to download this thing from your computer, and the chat's much easier. So if you have a question, it doesn't matter if it's in the middle of the presentation, go ahead and type your question in the chat box, and I will make sure to address it in our webinar. And do know that there is a little bit of a time delay on the webinar. It's about 30 seconds or so. So I don't address it right away. That's why. So anyways, well, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today. It's the day after Christmas, so I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little full from everything I ate during the holidays. But I am enjoying this beautiful weather. I'm not a cold weather person, so I'm loving the 50-degree weather out there. I hope everybody had a great Christmas. So we're going to get started. On the agenda, basically, we're going to just talk about who Transform RX is, the services we provide, and our why to getting the business started. Then we're going to go into just some basic nutrition information. Like I said, if you have questions, feel free to type them in the chat box, or I'm also available afterward. You can give me a call or send me an email, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. From there, we're going to go into our method as to how we would work with you for our nutrition coaching services, and the software and the other platforms that we work with to do this completely online nutrition coaching. Okay, so our first slide is who we are, what we do, and why. Like I said, we offer nutrition and fitness coaching services. We believe really strongly in an online nutrition coaching service, which we'll be talking about throughout the slides. And the reason for that is we both went through this program called Working Against Gravity. And essentially it was just like we're going to provide an online nutrition coaching, and it totally changed my outlook on how I ate and how I looked at food, and really opened my eyes to some foods that were like really healthy for me, but then other foods that were really, really harmful to me eating. So it was a totally amazing program. And so we contacted the company and asked if they would put us through the same coaching program that they put their coaches through, and they agreed to it and are actually allowing us to use their software that they use and provide the same service to our clients. On the fitness side of things, we both found CrossFit about 8 years ago. We aren't going to be doing totally CrossFit related fitness services and coaching, but it's going to be kind of similar, where you're going to be working with functional movements. It's going to be a group, and our hope is to create a community of people that are pushing each other, working together, helping each other achieve their dreams and their goals. So a little bit of how we run our business. We really believe strongly in setting core values for our members, for our business, and then those values will extend not only into the gym and how they're working out and the nutrition coaching, but outside the walls of our gym. So in everyday life. So our core values are grow. G for growth mindset, R for relentless excellence, O for ownership, W for working hard. So the growth mindset, for those of you who aren't familiar with that term, you can really only have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. A growth mindset is somebody who looks at the effort that somebody puts forth and says that's why they're successful. So for example, somebody comes to Tiger Woods and says, wow, you're so successful, you're so great at what you do. You must be a really hard worker. So that person believes you can work to be essentially whatever you want to be. Whereas a fixed mindset person would say, wow, Tiger Woods, you're so great at golf, you must be inherently talented, meaning he's the only one. If you have that level of talent, you can do it. If not, you're kind of out of luck. So obviously we want somebody with a growth mindset. We want our members to have that growth mindset because we are going to be getting outside of our comfort zones, and we believe in the value in doing that. And in order to get outside of your comfort zone, you have to believe that what you're looking to achieve, you're able to do that. You're able to achieve if you just work hard enough. And that's where we come in and work alongside you to achieve your goals. The relentless excellence piece is relentless. You're never stopping. And the excellence is what we define as fanatical attention to details while keeping the first things first. So we're going to really zone in on the things that matter. We're going to be detailed about it, but only on the things that matter. So we're always keeping the first things first. We're setting our priorities, and then we are relentless about achieving them. Ownership is something we call extreme ownership. Especially a lot in today's society, there's this victim mindset where you see a lot of people who are saying, well, I'm this way because, my mom didn't raise me right, my dad didn't raise me right, or I'm this way because the system's broken, or that's just the way society is. But in extreme ownership and that kind of mentality, you are saying, I can do something about it. You take ownership for what you can control, and everything else you ignore. So, if you don't like the weather in the state of Michigan, which I'm one of those, I say, well, I hate the weather, I'm stuck here. That's a victim mindset. Look what happened to me, and that does me no good. But if I were to take ownership of that, I can say, yes, I'm in the state, but I have the choice to live anywhere in the world I want to. And I can make a million excuses as to why I can't make that happen, but that's not going to do me any good. I focus on the things that I can control. I take ownership of that, and then I try to change it. The great thing about that is you're able to change things. The hard part is it's a difficult pill to swallow. If you say, well, I was given horrible genes, and so that's why I struggle with my weight. Yes, that might be true. However, that doesn't do you any good. So if you do the victim mindset and you say, well, these are the cards I've been dealt, it's not going to get you anywhere. But if you take ownership and you say, well, yeah, those are the cards I've been dealt, but can't do anything about that, so I'm going to ignore it. What can I change? Okay, well, I'll admit that, I eat out every single day. Well, there's a lot of calories, I think we all know, when you eat out. You take ownership of that and you say, I may not be able to change my genetics, but I can change how I eat out every single day. So instead of eating out every single day, I'm going to pack my lunch and make sure that what I'm getting is good for me. And then lastly, working hard. We want our members to be working hard at whatever they're doing, giving it their 100% best effort. And one line we always like to use is never whine, never complain, never make excuses. None of that does any of us any good. So we try to keep a positive environment where we build each other up instead of tearing each other down. And if you make an excuse, we'll call each other out on that all the time. Yes, it might be true, but what good does it do to always point out the negatives? It only brings everybody down. Moving on. So our goal is the time you're working with us, we want that to be the best part of your day. And we want you to live your best life now, not when you achieve your goals, not when you lose, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds, whatever your goal is. We want you to fall in love with the process of getting there, because you know what? A lot of times you push and push and push. You finally get to your goal. Yes, maybe you get excited for a little bit, maybe a day or so, but it goes away. And so we want you to fall in love with the process. I love getting up at 4:30 in the morning and exercising, because I know when I've done that, I've already beaten the day. Whatever happens to me the rest of the day, I know I got up, I made my bed, and I worked out for an hour. And whatever happens, I know that day I took control of, I took ownership of, and I made that the best part of my day. And we want your time with us to be the best part of your day. Again, falling in love with the process. All right. So this next slide is called the Sickness, Wellness, Fitness Continuum. This is our other why. We all sit here and say, well, obviously, if you're attending this webinar, you want to be healthy, right? So what is health? A lot of people have really different definitions of that. So being healthy can be having a good blood pressure, not being in type 2 diabetes. It could be running a 5-minute mile. It could be deadlifting, 500 pounds. Everybody has a different definition, but what we've done is we create this sickness, wellness, fitness continuum, and we say, okay, here's all of the factors that go into that. And based on all of the factors combined, everybody's going to fall somewhere on this continuum. And our goal is to get you as close to the green fitness as possible and as far away from the red sickness part of it as possible. And the reason for that is, let's say you're somewhere in the middle, you're in the yellow wellness area. You go to your doctor and they say, well, I don't need to put you on blood pressure medication. Your blood pressure is maybe a little high, but it's okay. It's average. It's fine. Your body fat might be around 25%. Your cholesterol, it's fine. It could be better. So you're kind of just somewhere in the middle. But then let's say something happens. You get in a car accident, or you have somebody in the family that is sick and you're the primary caregiver and you have to take care of them. All of a sudden, all of that stress and then additional time needed on your end is going to kick you closer to the red sickness area. So you don't have as much time to go to the gym. You don't have as much time to prepare your meals and eat healthy. So you're being pulled closer to the red sickness area. And that just happens. That's part of life. But the closer you are to the green fitness, you're building a hedge of protection against the things that happen in life. So, and we all know that happens, right? And people get sick, or parents get sick, and you have to take care of them. And even if that were to happen to me, we own a gym, but if something were to happen in our lives, let's say, a parent gets sick, all of that time that we have devoted to the gym, we can't do that anymore. We can't work out. We can't eat right. Probably the stress is going to make us overeat. And I think we all know how that feels. We're going to get pulled closer to the middle of the circle, but it's still not at the sickness area. So our goal is to get you as close to the green fitness area so you can have a high quality of life. And again, loving your every single day life and not looking at some distant goal, 5 years down the road. So we all know, I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide, but there's all these different types of diets out there. There's paleo and intermittent fasting and keto, zone. And essentially what they all are is some method of being able to balance the calorie budget. So for those of you who know me well, I'm a CPA, and I recently just left public accounting and in pursuit of this business. But everybody said it was such a big jump, and it's really not, because you have to balance your caloric budget. Calories in, what you consume, right? That's energy consumed, and calories out. So what I do, my activity level during the day, they have to balance. If they don't balance, let's say you eat more than you expend, more energy than you expend, we all know you're going to gain weight. And if you burn more than you consume, you're going to probably lose weight. So it seems pretty basic. And this is what any doctor would tell you if you go in and say, how do I lose weight? What do they tell you? Exercise more and eat healthy. I think we all know that by now. However, my question is it that simple? And I will tell you, no, It's not that simple. It really isn't. So Fernando and I went to a Harvard Medical School obesity conference a couple of years ago. He's also board certified in obesity medicine. And so we really had our eyes open that day. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty science of all of this, but again, my point is it's not that simple. If you do have questions after the seminar, I'm happy to go over that with you because I love to nerd out on this stuff. So there's a lot of different factors that go into it. Types of calories. Are you eating more fats than you are carbs, and there's proteins? And what is that? How do those three mix together to fit into your body type and how you should be eating for you individually? For those of you who aren't familiar with the term macro, what I mean is macronutrients. So we have macronutrients and micronutrients. Micronutrients are things like vitamins and minerals. So the tinier pieces of the puzzle. Macronutrient, there's only 3 of them: protein, carbs, fat. Okay? So when I say macros, it's just a short term for macronutrient, and I'm talking about some kind of mix between protein, carbs, and fat, and that's what we eat on a daily basis. Every single thing we put in our mouth is either a protein, carb, or fat, or some mix of the 3. Okay? So my next point is that you could have the same macro profile, but maybe you have higher glycemic index carbs and things like that. So again, I'm not going to get too sciencey, but I did want to show you this next slide here. They did a study on these 2 mice. They fed them the exact same calories, the exact same exercise program, and they each got the exact same amount of protein, carbs, and fat in their diet. The only thing that they varied was the type of carbs that they got. Okay, so the type of carbs that they got, one mouse got high glycemic index carbs and one got low glycemic index. So high glycemic index is, think of like more sugary carbs. The low glycemic are things like oats and things like that. After 18 weeks, they cut open the mice, and you'll see this on the slide. The low glycemic, on the left, you can see its organs. The one on the right, you can't even see the organs because of how much fat is covering that. This is, again, all the exact same calories. So what you put in your mouth, even though we talk about that budget and needing to balance, if you have the same caloric intake, it could still make a difference in the amount of fat that your body is producing. Very, very interesting. So going back to this previous slide, other things that matter: your genetics, your body type, your body fat percentage, your hydration levels. I think, we all know that if I were to eat a ton of sodium, let's say I order sushi and I eat a lot of soy sauce, my sodium levels are going to go through the roof and my body's going to retain water. I would bet you that I'd probably be up 3 pounds on the scale the next morning. And I think we all know that there's no way I gained 3 pounds of fat. It's just my hydration levels. And I would probably look bloated too. Stress levels, your sleeping patterns. It goes so deep as to what your mom was doing when she was pregnant with you, the type of food she was eating, if she was taking antibiotics and things like that. There's a lot. But our solution is focus on what you can control. Again, going back to that ownership. We look at all of the factors out there. Yes, we can't go back in time and change what your mom was doing when she was pregnant with you, but we can change the type of calories, the type of macros that we're getting in our diet. We can change how much we're exercising. We can change, and I think this is the biggest one, our mindset when we look at this. So we focus on what we can control. One big study that came out is with The Biggest Loser. And for those of you who aren't familiar with that show, it was an online weight loss show where the contestants would lose like hundreds of pounds over a short period of time, like 7 months or less. So what they were finding is these people were gaining the weight back 1, 2, 3, even up to 6 years later, and they were wondering, what was going on. So they did a study to find out, what happened during that. So they came up with what's called the set point theory. And basically what that is your body, everybody's body has a set point. That is what our body considers normal. So if you've been, let's say, 200 pounds for most of your life, Your body thinks 200 pounds is normal. So when you start losing weight, your body is going to do everything in its power to pull you back to 200 pounds. That's the bad news. The good news is if you overeat, like let's say I go out and I eat a large Dairy Queen Blizzard, because those are my favorite. Even though I have consumed more calories than I expended, I'm probably not going to gain weight over the course of a month if that was my one cheat. So still, my body's set point is actually pulling me down to what it thinks is normal. Because otherwise, I think we'd all be a lot heavier than we are currently. So it's a good news, bad news type of deal. Okay, so I'd like to introduce you to Danny Cahill. He was the winner of The Biggest Loser Season 8. He lost 239 pounds in 7 months, which is amazing, right? I think we can all say that's an extraordinary amount of weight loss in such a short time period. But what they found is he regained 100 pounds 6 years later, and it was a steady increase. So why was this happening? Because we all know he was taught how to eat right. Things seem to be going great for him, yet he's regaining the weight. And I want to point this out because this is such a common occurrence, and the stigma out there is you start regaining the weight, you feel horrible because you had just lost all this weight. So, what's wrong with me? Why am I regaining that weight? You might even go to a doctor, and what do they tell you? Exercise more, eat healthier, don't eat as much, right? Because they go back to the really simple math formula of calories in and calories out, and your budget has to balance. But it is not that simple, because I'd like to introduce you to a term called resting metabolic rate. This is the amount of calories you burn, and again, it's individual to you, what you burn on a daily basis, okay, just by being alive. So in order to get your organs functioning and just to breathe and your heart beating, if you were to just sit on a couch all day long, this is what you burn calorie-wise on a daily basis. Now, if you exercise, obviously that's over and above that. But we're looking at our resting metabolic rate. That resting metabolic rate for the average of that season 8 of The Biggest Loser. They took all the contestants, and their average resting metabolic rate was 2,607 calories per day, okay? At the end of the 30 weeks of the show, they found that it dropped to 1,996 calories a day. So what that means is they couldn't eat more than 1,996 calories a day, otherwise they would start to gain weight, okay? We would expect that to drop because when you weigh less, you're carrying around less weight. That seems normal. So if you're carrying around less weight as you move throughout the day, it's not going to take as much energy to move, which means your resting metabolic rate would go down. That makes sense. However, 6 years later, we notice it's still continuing to drop. So their resting metabolic rate 6 years later dropped another 100 calories per day on average. So even after the show was done, even after they were losing weight, it's still continuing to drop. And even more so than that, they were actually regaining the weight. The average contestant was gaining about 100 pounds 6 years later, okay? So even though they're regaining the weight, which means theoretically your resting metabolic rate should increase, guess what? It's not. It's still continuing to decrease because your body is in such metabolic shock from losing so much weight so quickly that it is doing everything possible to pull you back up to the weight that it thinks is normal. So it's doing things like lowering the amount of calories it takes to run your heart and your brain activity and your lung activity. In addition to that, it's releasing different hormones throughout your body. For those of you who don't know, there's a hunger hormone, and that's called ghrelin. That's a hormone that's when released into your bloodstream, you start feeling hungry. So your body, to get you back to that, what it thinks is normal, it's releasing that hormone like crazy, okay? So you're feeling like you are starving. You may have just had a meal, but you're starving. And I think people who have just lost weight, they experience this. And this is a lot of times why we see the yo-yo dieting. You lose the weight, and let's say you go on a crash diet, okay? You lose 15, 20 pounds in let's say 4-week period. That's a lot of weight. So your body starts freaking out and said, no, 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 something must be wrong. You must be sick. We're going to pull you back to where you were. This new weight of yours is not healthy. You start getting cravings. You're hungry more often, and you may not even actually be hungry, but you feel like you're hungry. On top of that, there's another hormone called leptin. That's the fullness hormone. So that's the hormone that's released when it says, okay, your body's saying you don't need to eat anymore, you're full. Well, what does your body do? It stops that leptin from going out in your bloodstream. So not only do you not feel full, now you're hungry because you have ghrelin going out. Your body is expending less energy by just being alive, and your body is literally doing everything in its power to pull you back to what it thinks is normal. So it's not all in your head. It is very much a real thing. And when they say this calorie budget, calories in, calories out, they're talking about something that is a set resting metabolic rate. What they don't explain in that simple math formula is that resting metabolic rate is constantly changing, especially if you're doing things like this on a yo-yo diet. So it is very, very much not that simple. So what they found with this Danny Cahill is 6 years later, his resting metabolic rate had decreased by 704 calories per day, which means, let's say he weighed 230 pounds. If you take Danny Cahill at 230 pounds and you take another man that is the exact same weight and body makeup, and you put them side by side, Danny Cahill would need to eat 704 calories less per day just to avoid gaining any weight than the person right next to him, which is crazy because 700 calories is a lot of food. In addition to that, Danny is experiencing extreme amounts of hunger, whereas this guy is feeling full and satisfied. So a very, very frustrating process. However, all of that being said, I want you to be aware of it so you know it's out there. However, I want you to realize that there are things we can do about that. I'm sorry, it looks like this slide got cut off a little bit. But there are things that actually increase our set point. So we want our set point lower, right? Because we want to be a healthy weight. However, things like decreased physical activity, stress, there are some prescription drugs that actually increase your body set point. And then obviously bad foods increase our set point. The things that we can do though, we can modify our lifestyle, okay? So we can eat healthier, obviously, and exercise, just like that same advice we've always heard. However, we can get more sleep and better quality sleep. That actually works to reduce your set point. There's a lot of studies out there for setting up a bedtime routine. When I started this program, actually, I was on Ambien. I would drink 2 glasses of wine a night. It was really bad, and I know you shouldn't do that. I'm not recommending that. And I didn't know what to do just to get through the night sleeping, and it was horrible. I couldn't sleep through the night. Just by fixing that one thing, I felt better, and my body started releasing the weight that it was holding on to, and releasing the fat that it was holding on to. Stress reduction. I think we all know stress is such a bad thing in your life. Bad stress. So it is, you can have good stress, things like, the stress of opening up a business in your dream field. That's what we're going through. That is good stress. We like that. But bad stress is like sickness and, maybe family issues or work issues. If you have less stress, your set point will start to drop. Stable eating patterns. Our bodies are machines. It likes to see the same thing on a consistent basis. So you start setting up stable eating patterns, meaning you're not going to be, we don't want you eating a ton of food on the weekends and then making up for that on the weekdays because we know we ate so bad. If we just ate consistently on a day-to-day basis, our body wouldn't feel like it had to store all of the fat because it's anticipating another starvation session from you. Okay. We could potentially work with your doctors to say, okay, this medication is causing you to gain weight. Is there another medication that doesn't cause you to gain weight? Maybe there's something else your doctor can try. So there's lots of opportunities for lowering that set point. So before I get into the next slide, I'm checking here to see if there's any questions. And I'm just going to give people just a few seconds here to type any questions that they might have on that set point theory or anything we've gone over so far. Okay, doesn't look like there's any questions so far. So getting into the program, that was the basic nutrition information. Now we're getting into what we do in our program. So we took some before and after pictures when we joined the program. So these are mine. I want you to notice the key takeaway here. Obviously the picture, there's two sets of pictures. I did the program 2 different times. Both times were at the start of tax season, or sorry, the end of tax season. So that would be the picture on the left. The picture on the right was after I really hunkered down on the program. But I want you to take away that there was only 1 pound that I lost both times, but you can see a very drastic difference in the pictures. So I say that to say that in this program, yes, we do track our weight, and it is an important measurement tool, but it's not the only measurement tool. There are a lot of things that can influence the weight on the scale. And something I forgot to mention with that set point theory is what we don't want is you losing weight very quickly. The more quickly you lose weight, the faster and harder your body is going to be pulling you back to its normal. But if you lose weight on a consistent, steady pace, I would say no more than 1.5 pounds per week, maybe 2, you lose that slowly and consistently. That set point and your body's resistance to losing that weight is not going to be as intense. So that's one of the biggest ways you can combat your body's reaction to losing weight. It has to be on a slow, consistent basis. So again, these pictures, the only difference is 1 pound on the scale. Obviously, there's a lot of other things happening. I was sleeping better. I was sleeping through the night. I was eating consistently. I wasn't, binging on the weekends and then like starving myself during the week. I cut alcohol, obviously, completely out of my diet. Sugar was completely out of my diet as well. So lots of big changes there. So here is kind of going into the science of macro counting. So macro counting is saying this is how many carbs, how many fats, how many proteins I am eating on a daily basis. And that's going to be the crux of our program. We are going to be working with you to say you personally, because everybody's different, should be getting X amount of protein, carbs, and fat on a daily basis. And your goal is to try to hit those numbers, give or take some, because it is very hard to hit those numbers spot on. So each macro is made up of calories, right? So if you were to eat 1 unit of protein, 1 gram of protein, that is equal to 4 calories. Same thing with carbs. If you're to eat 1 unit of a carb, or 1 gram of a carb, that is 4 calories, okay? Fats, on the other hand, if you were to eat 1 gram or 1 unit of a fat, that is 9 calories. So essentially, what we give you is, yes, this is how much of the 3 macronutrients you should be eating, but it's all consistent of calories. So we're giving you a calorie budget. This is your budget for the day. And of that budget, we're going to have 3 subcategories. Of the total budgeted calories, we want you to hit X number of calories from fat, X number of calories from carbs, and X number of calories from protein. And again, this is totally different for everybody. What my husband eats, specific to him and his goals and also his body type, he eats a lot of carbs. It's close to 400 carbs or units of carbs per day, whereas I'm closer to the 200 range. His body just really tolerates carbs a lot better than mine. So again, everybody's going to be different, and it's also going to be dependent on your activity levels throughout the day. Some examples of protein, and if anybody wants these slides I'm not sure if you're able to download them, but I'm happy to email them to you after. Just shoot me a quick email or a message on Facebook, and I'm happy to get those out to you. But some examples of protein. Let's take eggs, for example. Egg whites are one of the most pure sources of protein out there, if not the purest source of protein. And notice that I said egg whites, not eggs. Eggs with the yellow in it, again, great source of protein, but you have to be cognizant of the fat that is in the yellow part. And I don't know what kind of background everybody comes from, but when I say fat, please don't take it to mean that fat is bad for you. Too much fat is bad for you, just like too many carbs is bad for you. Even too much protein can be bad for you. Too much water can be bad for you. So these are just terms that we use to define the food we eat. There is no stigma. There should be no stigma to fat is bad, carbs are bad. It's just a term used to define some of the foods that we eat. So think of it like that. So going back to the egg example, great. If you have 2 whole eggs with the yolks in them, yes, you had protein and fat. That goes to your calorie budget and your macro budget for the day. Okay, so some other sources of protein, ribeye and really any animal is going to be a source of protein. There are some with higher fats than others. If I have chicken breast, for example, that is a very lean source of protein. However, ground turkey, you got to be careful of the percentages and how much lean it is. If it says 95% lean, it's going to be pretty lean. But a lot of ground turkey, people think they're getting a healthier option at restaurants when you get ground turkey. I will tell you, it has just the average restaurant that puts ground turkey in their foods or substitutes it out for ground beef, it's going to have the exact same amount of fats as ground beef. So if you're trying to be healthier, you might as well just enjoy the burger and get ground beef, or order something else like grilled chicken. All right, so protein, what does it do? Again, I'm not going to get too sciencey on this, but it helps you build muscle. So when you're in the gym and you're working out heavily, it helps repair your muscle. It also helps your body function on a day-to-day basis. It works with the amino acids in your body, and it really just helps repair the muscle, build muscle, helps you feel better on a day-to-day basis. Protein is such a key macronutrient for me because our average person out there is not getting enough protein. So let's move on to everybody's favorite, carbs. It's my favorite. That's actually the reason why I joined this program, because I was eating a strict paleo diet, which is essentially no sugar, no dairy, no grains of any kind, and everything else you can eat, but bread was not a part of that. So when my husband Fernando started this program and I found out that he was able to eat bread on this program and still like look as good as he did in this program, I said, well, you know what? It might be a lot of work at first, but if there's a program out there where I can look the best I've ever looked, feel the best, have more energy in my workout, and eat bread, sign me up. That's the one I want. So carbs, we all know carbs are the breads out there, the oats, cereals and pretzels. Those are more of the processed carbs. But what a lot of people don't realize is carbs are also fruit. Okay, so bananas, apples, raspberries, those are all carbs, as well as vegetables. Vegetables, yes, are also carbs. Vegetables are not protein, and vegetables are not fat. Now, you might have little traces of either of those in your vegetables, but vegetables as a whole are going to be predominantly carbs. So again, going back to, if we think carbs are bad, they're not. It's just too much carbs. So vegetables are carbs, which means carbs can be good for you. What do carbs do? Carbs are the brain's primary fuel source. So fuels our brain. It fuels our energy throughout the day. It gives us energy for workouts and to, survive throughout the day, throughout our workday. So it is a very important macronutrient that our bodies need. Okay, fat. Fat is the next one. Now think of this as fat is the most expensive macronutrient out there. 9 calories per gram, while the other 2 macronutrients are 4 calories per gram. So you're going to see we're going to be prescribing less fats for you throughout your day. But again, fats are a good thing. You do need fat to function. So some examples of fat, we talked about egg yolks, very, very high in fat. Olives, olive oil, any kind of oil and dressing, predominantly fat. Walnuts, any kind of nuts. You have to be careful with nuts because most people think, yes, that they are fats, but there's some things like cashews, which are actually a lot of carbs as well. So you need to be careful there. But think of, like red meat is going to be higher in fat. They're going to have a lot of fat to it. Avocados, oils, nuts, peanut butter. Peanut butter is essentially fat, carbs, and protein. It is a pretty expensive food in the terms of the macro world. So again, any type of oil is going to be fat related. What does dietary fat do? A lot of things. You need it for hormone production. You need fats to facilitate the absorption of certain vitamins throughout your body. So you need fat to live. Without fat in your diet, with zero fat in your diet, you would not be able to continue living as a human being. So you do need fats. It also helps to keep our blood sugars low. So one of the problems I was having is I couldn't sleep through the night. I would wake up starving at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it wasn't nighttime munchies. I was literally nauseated with how hungry I was. So what I started doing is eating more fats closer to my bedtime because it helps keep you full for a longer amount of time. And what I soon found is I would eat a lot of fat at night, which flies against everything they tell you to do in the nutrition world. But for me specifically, my body needed fat at night. When I did that, I slept throughout the night. I haven't woke up hungry in probably 3 years, which is amazing. Well, 2 years. 2 years I haven't woken up hungry, which is great. Okay, so just to give you an idea of how this works. So when I started, my coach lived in Washington, the state of Washington, and her name was Amy. I worked with her completely online. I've never met her in real life. And I started working with her, and she sends me my macro formula. Now, I already had some experience with macro counting, so she didn't have to spend a lot of time working with me as to, how to go about this. What we would do is, based on your experience level with macro counting, we would say, okay, if you have no experience with that, we would say, okay, first, we're just going to get you used to tracking what you eat. Maybe a common first question is, how do I even know how many carbs and how many fats and proteins I'm eating? So what we would first do is work with you to get acclimated to that. Then eventually down the road, once you get used to all of that, we would be setting you up with a macro formula that we prescribe and say, okay, now you're used to counting. This is what we're going to be giving you. So in my example, I was prescribed, it was a total of 1,412 calories per day. It was 120 grams of protein, 120 grams of carbs, and 50 grams from fat. I will tell you, based on my goals, this was a great starting point for me. The 120 carbs is pretty low. That's bordering a low carb diet. Of those carbs, we said 20 grams of those carbs should be coming from fiber. Fiber tells your coach the quality of the foods that you're eating. Broccoli has a ton of fiber. Apples have a ton of fiber. What doesn't have, oatmeal has a ton of fiber. But if you're eating things like fast food or really processed carbs, that's not going to have fiber and you're not going to hit your goal. So it's essentially our way of making sure that you're eating whole, unprocessed foods as much as possible. So again, going back to this is where I started with 120, 120, and 50 grams of fat, okay? But once I got on this program, I was able to exercise more. I had a lot more energy when I woke up during the day. A lot of my lifestyle started changing, and I also had a change of careers. So 2 years later, this is what I currently, now I'm my own nutrition coach. This is what I currently eat and the way I set up my macro profile now. I'm currently eating 2,237 calories a day. So that's, it's almost 1,000 calories more than I was getting. I eat 135 grams of protein, 278 grams of carbs, 65 grams of fats. So very, very different. I also up my fiber to 30 grams a day. So this is what I need to eat. My goal is maintenance. So I need to feel energized throughout the day while not gaining weight, and I also don't want to lose weight. So this is where I currently have my caloric intake set in my macro profile. That does change as needed. So if I see that I'm gaining weight, I'm going to be lowering my macros. If I see that I'm losing weight, I'm going to be upping my macros. So it is something that you continually need to start changing as your body needs. So I know there's not too much interaction in a webinar, but I just want to break down what is a seemingly healthy day to the average person out there. It's a work day. The person wakes up. We'll call her Amy. Amy wakes up and has a bowl of Kashi cereal with skim milk. Everybody, I think, knows out there that Kashi is one of these companies that claims to be very, very healthy. And I'm not saying that they're not unhealthy or that they're not healthy. You just need to watch what you're eating. So wake up, bowl of Kashi cereal with skim milk. The way to work, they stop at Starbucks and get an iced mocha coffee. For a snack, they have a fat-free yogurt. Lunch, they go to Panera with a whole wheat turkey sandwich and a smoothie. Whole wheat turkey sandwich. I mean, where can you really go wrong? And a smoothie, a fruit smoothie, right? They're hungry again while they're at lunch or while they're at work. They have a snack with a Nutri-Grain bar. And then for dinner, they stop by Chipotle. They get a burrito bowl with rice, no guacamole because we know that's high in fat, and we get some tortilla chips and salsa. I think the average person out there would say that's a pretty healthy diet. I would be starving. I'll tell you right now, I would be starving if I ate this throughout the day. However, here's what I want you to take away. Total calories for that diet is almost 3,000. They almost consumed 3,000 calories. It was 29.94 in calories for that day. In terms of carbs, they had 460 units of carbs in that. My carbs are at 278. My husband's are at 400. 460 grams of carbs. Nobody is going to lose weight. I would have to work out pretty much 8 hours just to burn off the carbs from those meals. So very, very, if this is an average day, you think you're eating healthy, but you are really shooting yourself in the foot by eating these kinds of foods. However, there's a lot of things we can do to change that while still enjoying some of our lifestyle. Let's modify it. In the morning, instead of a Kashi cereal, let's do a veggie omelet. And you know what? Let's even keep some of the yolks in there, okay? It's not going to be an egg white omelet. We like our yolks. We're going to keep them. I personally don't like egg yolks, though, so I don't put that in my veggie omelet. But you're free to. We still stop by Starbucks. We get a black coffee instead. Maybe some cream with it. For my snack, I'm going to have a couple deli turkey slices and some almonds, okay? For lunch, I still want to go to Panera, so I'm going to get a Cobb salad and some unsweetened iced tea. For my snack after lunch, I'm going to have some jerky, okay? And then for dinner, I still want to go to Chipotle, but instead of a burrito bowl and tortilla chips, I'm just going to get a salad bowl, no tortilla chips. But I still got to go to Starbucks, Panera, and Chipotle, still got to eat out. If this was your day, I don't even want you to focus on calories. You are consuming under 60 grams of carbs. That is insanely low. You are actually bordering a ketogenic diet. You would actually need to actively find places in your day where you can start adding carbs because you're not consuming enough in this diet. And again, I'm not saying that this is how you should eat. 60 grams of carbs is not how I would want any of my clients eating. But the point is, there's a lot of things you can do, little tweaks you can make to cut out. We cut out 400 grams of carbs in that diet, it's a much healthier diet. And then we would probably be taking this day and adding things like bananas and maybe some bread and things like that, okay? So a lot of little tweaks that you can do to really change your day. So the next part of our presentation is how it works. So how our system works. Like I said, it's completely online. So my coach was in Washington. You could be in Dubai, you can be anywhere in the United States. Really, there's there's no need for us to ever really meet, but I'm happy to meet those who would want me to come out and kind of show them how things work. Your first step, though, is going to be working with our nutrition coaching software, which is Seismic, okay? So you would reach out to me, and actually I'm going to put an offer out here just so you have it. If you are interested in signing up, you can just click on Get Started, and what you would do is, let's see, I just posted the offer. You would click on Get Started, and it would lead you to our Seismic software with our company Transform RX, and you would get started in filling out a questionnaire with the company, and really you're just following prompts. It'll set you up from there. So you decide to transform your life with Transform RX and sign up. Okay? You create an account. So you're going to have a username and a password, and you start your account with Seismic. You fill out your profile. The profile is going to consist of pictures. It is not required that you take pictures. I know probably for me that was the most vulnerable part of the program. I really hated it. However, I'll tell you what, I'm so happy I took those pictures, because when I made that transformation, I can look back and see how much I've changed. And actually, I did that on a weekly basis. I would always look at my pictures to see how I was progressing. So I would really strongly recommend taking pictures. You take pictures, you take measurements, you weigh yourself, and then you also fill a little bit, there's a questionnaire, and you fill out about yourself. What are your goals? Why are those your goals? What's your typical day of eating like? If you're not sure how many calories you eat on a day-to-day basis, don't guess. I want the questionnaire to be as honest as possible, because if you are saying something like, I'm eating 800 calories a day, and you're really not, and you're still not losing weight, eating 800 calories a day, which is really low. In my mind as a coach, I'm thinking, okay, well, I need to set your calories at 600 calories a day to get you to start losing weight if your body is acclimated to 800 calories a day. So if you're not sure, just please don't guess. It's really important that this program is as accurate and as honest as possible. Okay, so you fill out your questionnaire and your profile, and you submit it. And again, this is all through the Seismic online platform. From there, within 24 to 48 hours, we pair you with a coach, which will either be me or Fernando. If you have a preference in working with one of us, just say so in your profile as you're filling it out. You will get an email saying, hey, we've paired you with a coach. From there, your coach will review your profile and respond to you again within 24 to 48 hours. That profile that they review, they will use to create a nutrition program for you. If you are familiar with macro counting, okay, that is going to be the first thing you get is going to be similar to what we looked at with my macro profile. Okay, great. You're going to get 120 grams of carbs, proteins, and 50 grams of fat. However, if you're not familiar with tracking, most of my clients so far have not been familiar with tracking their macros. So instead, I give them their first assignment, which is getting a app on your phone that helps you figure out how much the foods that you're consuming are in terms of carbs, proteins, and fats, okay? That's their first assignment. Just track everything you eat. And then from there, we'll be working, again, it's a slow, steady process to get you acclimated to a lifestyle change. I don't believe in fad, quick weight loss diets. I will tell you right now, if you are looking for a fast program where you lose a lot of weight and then get off of it and then eat whatever you want, that's not this program. I don't want you losing weight quickly. If you are losing weight too quickly, I will actually prescribe you more calories in your diet, because I'm trying to prevent that metabolic response that we talked about with the set point theory, okay? Then you check in weekly with your coach. So this is one-on-one coaching. You can actually message your coach as much or as little as you want. However, you are required to check in weekly. You check in by retaking all of your photos. You weigh yourself. You're actually also required to weigh yourself on a daily basis. And you take your measurements, and then you fill out another little questionnaire of how did you feel this week? Where was your hunger at? We don't want people starving on this diet, but they should be a little hungry. how's your stress levels? How's your mindset? Because we all know that's such a huge factor in this. And then it provides that accountability. Like my check-in day was on a Sunday, and I knew on Saturday I was going to be checking in the next day. And so, working with my coach, Amy, I would say, okay, Saturday I am eating clean when normally Saturday was my binge day. So not doing that anymore because I know I'm going to have to be accountable to Amy the very next day. Okay. So that is such a huge piece of our program. You check in weekly, we will respond to that check-in within 24 hours. Then we continue to get to know each other. You can message us, like I said, anytime you want. Check-in, a minimum of the check-in is always going to be 1 week, but you can message us anytime you want throughout the week. If you're feeling hungry, too hungry, if you have questions, I don't know how to work the app or something's wrong with my software, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. That is our job. We want to get to know you really, at a personal level, because all of this is so dependent on how well you and your coach work together as a team to help you reach your goals. This is not a program where we, give you a prescription of this is what you need to eat and then see ya. We want to be working with you. This is we are true coaches. This is very much a team goal that we have. And no man's an island. We are not going to be working with you every 6 months. This is going to be a weekly thing that we work together. Hey, I'm feeling really stressful lately. What can I do to work on that? It's not nutrition related, but we want to help you work on your stress too. Or my biggest change in my program was my sleeping patterns. Had nothing to do with, had a little bit to do with nutrition, but not a ton. And I would tell my coach, I can't sleep throughout the night. This is a huge problem. She did some research for me, and even though she's my nutrition coach, she was able to fix that. So that's the role that we want with you and working with you. And then obviously enjoy sustainable success is our long-term goal. Here is a brief slide on what Seismic looks like. You're gonna have a dashboard. I am not a tech savvy person, and I was able to get through this pretty easily. It is a very straightforward program. Really, if just clicking around, you learn a lot about it, but there's also a whole knowledge base that we would give you access to that would show you how to use it best for you. But essentially, this is your dashboard. I can still, even though I've been off the program for 1.5 years through Seismic, I can actually still log on, see all of my progress pictures, see all the journals that I wrote to my coach. There's a lot of great information that kind of just stays in the system. The next thing I want to introduce to you is called MyFitnessPal. That is the app that you will use on your phone that will tell you how many carbs, proteins, and fats and calories that you're eating throughout your day. Seismic is the coaching platform where you talk to your coach and log all of your progress photos. MyFitnessPal is an app on your phone that tells you this is how much you're eating throughout the day. So for example, for today I had eggs for breakfast and oatmeal with peanut butter. I went into MyFitnessPal and I logged that, and I said I had 4 egg whites. I measured my oatmeal, 65 grams of oatmeal, and I had 31 grams of peanut butter. I put that right into MyFitnessPal, and I don't have to think about it from there on out. It just tells me this is how much carbs, protein, and fat you ate with your breakfast. So I know with my calorie budget, my macro budget that my coach gave me, which I'm my coach again, but I set for myself these macro goals, then I know how close I am to reaching the goals for the day. If I'm getting too close to my fats, then I know that I need to watch out for the rest of the day with my lunch and dinner, not to eat a ton of fat. So it is a very, very great app. There's a standard edition, which is free. There is also a premium edition, which I think is about $50 a year, or whatever it works out to, $4 a month or so. You can totally use the free version, but if you want all the bells and whistles, you're free to purchase the premium edition as well. The best thing about MyFitnessPal is when you check in weekly on Seismic with your coach, we ask you to input everything, all of the carbs, protein, and fats you ate on a daily basis, where you were hitting those numbers. MyFitnessPal will sync with Seismic, so you don't have to input any of that. So if you are considering going with us, definitely get the MyFitnessPal app. It was a lifesaver. In conclusion, I wanted to go through some questions. At this time, again, feel free to start typing any questions you might have in the chat function of the webinar. But really what I want everybody to realize is this is a lifetime change. We don't want something that is going to be a starvation diet with quick weight loss. There's a lot of programs out there that have you eating 500 calories a day. I'm not a believer in that. I would not put myself on that diet. And because of that, I would not ask my clients to be on that diet either. It's a learning process. It's, again, learning to fall in love with the process, not the goal. We fall in love with the things we do on a daily basis so that we can enjoy sustainable success. Okay. So, it's so important that you just realize you're not going to experience rapid weight loss. You're not going to be losing 10 pounds that first week. Hopefully not, because your body's going to freak out to that. Okay. It's a slow and steady process where, I can tell you my mom, for example, she was bordering type 2 diabetes. She actually hasn't even enrolled in the nutrition program. She is just a fitness client where she would come 1 day a week with group fitness classes, and now she's coming 2 days a week. But over the course of a year, she lost 25 pounds. And that's the kind of weight loss we want to see, a slow and consistent weight loss. And now her doctor is not telling her that she needs to go on diabetic medication anymore. She's still close to the danger zone, but she's a lot further away from it from where she started a year ago. That's our goal. Moving you a little bit closer to that green fitness level on that continuum we talked about. Overall, some of the benefits that you'll see from this, why this program is so different from others. It's individualized to you. Everybody has different needs. This is going to be specific to you. It is flexible. So in those progress pictures that I showed you, I'm a big chocolate person. So I was eating still a fun-sized bag of M&Ms every single day. And I still was able to enjoy success. I just counted for it. So I would log into MyFitnessPal, put that I ate, the fun-sized bag of M&Ms that counted towards my carbs and my fat, and I just adjusted for it. Every night till this day, I've eaten 2 blueberry waffles, 1 with peanut butter, every single night before bed. I account for that. I just eat less throughout my day, and it is by far my favorite snack. So definitely, it is so flexible. If you're not willing to compromise some of the foods that you eat, fine. That's totally fine. We'll just have to adjust for it in your other meals. My biggest takeaway from this program is it builds awareness into what we are eating. I had no idea how many calories were in just basic salad dressing because of how much oil is in it. I went to the store the other day to get Smart Pop for some of our clients, thinking it was a healthy, that Smart Pop popcorn bag. I thought it had to be healthy. It's called Smart Pop. And popcorn, it's not like I'm getting donuts, right? I looked at the nutrition label and I was so just disturbed. It has so much fat, so many carbs, and here people are thinking they're being healthy by getting Smart Pop. If I'm going to cheat on my diet, it's not going to be Smart Pop. I promise you that. So it's about building awareness into what we eat. The biggest thing is this is going to take a lot of time. Initially, you have to get used to counting everything you eat, tracking everything you eat, trying to get as close to those prescribed macros that we set for you. However, once you get used to that, and once you have more familiarity with the type of food you're eating and how much, carbs and proteins and fats something is, you get a general idea for how your body responds to it, how much it costs in terms of your calorie budget to eat those foods. And eventually the goal is that you're not working with a nutrition coach because you know how to eat. They taught you everything you need to know to be on your own for life, and you're intuitively eating. So I will tell you what, MyFitnessPal, I haven't used it in probably a month because I know how I should be eating. Now, if I start feeling off, I'll go back to MyFitnessPal and I'll start setting up a more restrictive diet for me. But overall, I'm 2 years out from the program, and I feel like I have enough knowledge to sustain myself and keep keep up on the progress that I've seen. So our end goal, again, slower start, more time intensive. That's an investment at the beginning. However, the goal is that eventually this is a lifetime switch, and you're not going to need to be logging and tracking everything you eat, because you're going to know, you're going to gain so much knowledge just by being on this program. So again, my last bullet point there is our ultimate goal is that you're set for life. You don't need to, we don't want you, as much as we would love to be, for you to be clients with us forever, that's not our goal. We don't want you feeling like you have to be with us for the rest of your life. You can be your own coach. Now, say something happens in your life and you're feeling off again, come back to us. We'll get you started again, get things right back on track, and then you'll be fine to go off of nutrition coaching after that and be your own coach. Again, short-term investment for lifelong results. Pricing, as far as that goes, I'm sure you saw from the offer, but it is $120 a month. That includes unlimited access to us. You have to check in weekly with your coach. It's personalized coaching for you and what works best with your body. And most importantly, we work on mindset coaching. That is my primary goal in tackling the mindset. That's why we got this company started. So many people are like, well, it's simple. You just exercise more, eat better, eat less. It is so much part of the mind. When I'm stressed, I eat worse. Most people do. Why are you eating that way? Let's look into what's happening in your life that's causing you to eat that way, that's causing you these cravings. Once we tackle the root of the issue, which nobody seems to address anymore, we can fix the result of what you're actually eating. But we have to look at the root before we can even say, like, just eat better or just eat cleaner or exercise more. We need to see why that's happening. We need to address the root of the problem. That's our goal in working with you. Some people, if you don't have questions, we did come up with some questions ourselves. So it says, I know what you're thinking. How much time is this going to take? I will tell you what, it's going to take a lot in the beginning. And each week, you're going to get more acclimated to the process. So it's going to get better every week. And know that this is a very, very short-term investment for a long-term, lifetime set of results. So yes, it is going to take time, but think of it as a short-term investment. Just to give you an idea of what our day-to-day looks like in terms of time. We do food preparation for the entire week on Sunday. It's not required, but I don't particularly like cooking my meals all the time, and I like to spend as much time doing other things other than cooking and as little time as I can cooking. So I do my meal prep for the entire week on Sunday. I've got it down to about 2 hours, which is pretty good on my end. You will need to be weighing everything with a food scale. So right here, this is a food scale that we use. It shouldn't cost more than $10. This is, I think, $10 on Amazon. The company's name is Nourish. You can get any of them. It's just a food scale. It measures things in grams, ounces, fluid ounces, you name it. Really, really cheap. But I want to say, you want to be weighing everything on the food scale. Do not use tablespoons, teaspoons, cup measurements, anything like that, okay? It is very inaccurate, and I will give you an example. This is my peanut butter, my beloved peanut butter. I structure my entire day so I can have as much peanut butter as I can get out of my macros because I love it so much. So if I look on the back of this, I'm looking at the nutrition facts, and it says 2 tablespoons are a serving size. And in parentheses, right next to 2 tablespoons, it says 33 grams, okay? What that means is 33 grams on the food scale. If I were to measure out 33 grams on the food scale, I promise you it is not 2 tablespoons. And there should be a slide here showing that, yep. So the current slide, now you can see the difference. There's tablespoon, not weighed. So if I were to just take 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, and that's on the left, on the right, I look at the 1 tablespoon, and instead I measured what 1 tablespoon should equal, which is 15 grams of peanut butter. look at how much of that tablespoon is missing. That is on the right, that is a true 15-gram amount of peanut butter, which according to these nutrition facts on the back of Jif, should be 1 tablespoon. It is not 1 tablespoon. So please, please, please weigh everything. Don't use cups and tablespoon measurements. It can really lead to really inaccurate results, especially with peanut butter. Like I said, it is a very expensive food in terms of fat, carbs, and protein. The second thing I want to point out, grams on the scale. Grams is a form of weight measurement, okay? So if I say 33 grams of peanut butter, I'm going to weigh 33 grams of peanut butter on my scale. When we give you grams of carbs, if I give you 120 grams of a carb or 120 grams of protein, that is not a weight measurement. That is, in other words, what I think they should call it is a unit. I'm actually giving you 120 units of protein. That does not mean you need to weigh out for the day. Well, chicken's a protein, so I'm going to weigh 120 grams of chicken on the scale. No, that is, I'm giving you 120 units of chicken. And again, for those of you who are not familiar with macro counting, I will be going over this in much bigger detail for you. I'm even happy to go grocery shopping with you if it helps to, show you how to work a food scale in person, how to read nutrition labels. Anything I can do to make your life easier, I am more than happy to do. Again, going back to what our day looks like. If we're eating out, we make sure to look up the restaurant menu ahead of time and say, okay, what do they offer? If they offer nutrition facts on that, even better. We're putting it into our MyFitnessPal so we can plan out our breakfast and lunch so we know we're not going over on dinner. Also, you're inputting your foods into MyFitnessPal either throughout the day, or if you know everything you're going to eat that day, you can do it all at once in the morning. Another common question is, not really a question, more than a statement. This program is expensive. Yes, it might be more than what some people are used to. However, I will tell you, if you were to hire a nutritionist, the average cost of a nutritionist is $150 an hour. So you have unlimited access to us throughout the month, and you're checking in at least weekly. So it is a much more hands-on program where you have a flat rate. We're not, if you spend 10 hours with us, we are not going to be charging you 10 times $150 an hour. It's one flat price for the month. My second biggest point is this. Again, it comes back to a short-term investment for lifelong results. So you're going to be investing your money and your time initially for the trade-off of having a lifetime of knowledge that you can take with you wherever you go to constantly make sure that you're going to keep up the progress that you want with your weight loss goals. How do I know this is going to work for me? Another great question. This is a program individualized for you. We are not telling you, hey, you need to eat on a ketogenic diet, which is very, very low carbs and high fats. We're not telling you need to eat, high carbs and low fats. What we're doing is we're trying to see what works for you. This is a team effort where we go back and forth to try to figure out what works best for you in your lifestyle with your goals and your body type. So I can't promise you this is going to be a program that is 100% going to work hands down. And I think that if anybody tells you that, you need to run in the other direction. So much of this is mindset. So if you can tackle the mindset part, I'm very confident actually that you will start to see results. And that's what our goal is, to tackle the mindset, to tackle how you need to be eating and what works best for you, which is going to be different for everybody. So I'm so confident in this program, and that's why we reached out to them to see if they would let us coach, because it worked so well for me, which is totally different from how it worked for Fernando. Yes, it worked for him, but he has a totally different approach than I have. And had we signed up in a program that said, here's the blanket program for everybody, one of us, or maybe both of us, would have been pretty disappointed, because one program is not going to work the same for everybody. That is it that I have. I'd like to leave you with a quote. It says, time is going to pass. You can either spend it creating the life you want or spend it living the life you don't want. Either way, the time's going to pass. The choice is yours. So we hope that you enjoyed the seminar today. Again, I'm going to stay on for just a couple minutes to address any questions that people might have. If you'd rather not submit your question live and want to chat with me after, I did provide my contact information with our business number, and there's also Facebook and Instagram. There's an email. We also have our website up there. So lots of different ways you can contact us if you do have any questions. Again, thank you so much for coming. We really do appreciate you taking time out of your holiday weekend to spend with us learning about nutrition. And we look forward to hearing from you.